Electric Fire Chapter 24, Going Home.
My plan was mainly to get Sonic back to his home, back to Tom and Maddie, and off Gun's radar. Nothing else mattered now. My past is far behind me. I know I need to let it go. But things are starting to pile up. This anger I feel within me is far too much to take. But for now, I need to keep it bottled up, for Sonic's sake. None of this is his doing. I shouldn't take any of it out on him, unlike what Gerald did. The commander is starting to become him. Both of those humans allowed anger to control them. One doesn't want the truth, though, and the other, well, he let himself go down a dark path of misery, making a web of lies. It was hard to sleep. I kept waking up and falling back asleep. I couldn't stay asleep. Though Sonic seemed to be having almost the same trouble, but he still slept. But seemed nightmares had took a hold on him. He called out Tom's name in his sleep a few times, even saying,
"Tom, no!"
I knew I needed to get him home to Tom and Maddie, or the Pretzel Lady and Dirtboard, as what Sonic nicknamed them as. He hasn't exactly called them that lately. Much probably got too used to calling them by their actual names. There was a good chance that Gun would find us here. If that happened, I doubt we'd have much of a chance to get back to Tom and Maddie. Gun knew of the Ark. Not much of a good hiding place. My thoughts were interrupted as another yell from Sonic was heard. He was calling out for Tom again, but this time he awoke with a jolt. Blue electricity surrounded him. His quills lit up with the static that was coming off his fur. Emerald eyes were now an intense blue. He stood up, quills pointing upward, kinda like how mine are. The blue hedgehog was facing toward me now. His stare was blank, one almost as though he wasn't thinking straight. "Sonic?" I spoke up. He didn't reply back. He got on his knees, getting ready to run at me. Surely he was still dreaming, though he was awake. Well, he seemed to be. Or rage has taken over. "Sonic, I don't want to fight you." Again, no response from the other. Instead, he whispered something I could kinda make out what he was saying.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He had counted down. Once he got to 1, he lunged, leaving sparks of electricity behind him. I dodged the attack. He went straight for the steel wall. He hit it pretty hard that he left a dent. It was enough to get him to stop. The impact caused him to fall backwards. Afterward, he sat up. He seemed dazed and confused, the electricity fading, and his eyes went back to being an emerald green. "Sonic, are you okay?" He just looked up at me and nodded a bit. He was hurt after the impact. He got up and limped back to the couch. "Sonic?" He just looked back at me before sitting down.
I know what I did, if that's what you're about to ask. I'm sorry. I think I was lucid dreaming or something. I was aware of what I was doing, but I couldn't stop myself.
It was obvious he felt bad for what he had done. He could barely look at me. "Sonic, it's okay. No harm done." Sirens blared, interrupting our conversation. It was likely Gun had found us. I took Sonic by the hand, and we rushed to the computer lab. There were cameras all over, so I could check on the footage through the computers. But when we got there, well, Gun agents were already blocking the room. We both hid behind the corner before any of them spotted us. Sonic covered his mouth with one hand, trying to not make a sound. Then I noticed the camera was starting to turn towards us. I quickly made a spear manifest into my hand before I lunged it straight at the camera, before rushing off again. The spear had literally formed from nothing, though it was my own energy that caused it to appear. I feared that even if we tried to get away, Gun would just end up taking us back anyway. I didn't want to go back there. I had to try. I knew I had to use chaos to control again. not wanting to get captured again. I looked back at Sonic, still holding his hand. I tried to picture Tom and Maddie's home, trying to imagine Sonic's room. We both heard footsteps coming toward us. 2 pairs of boots was what I picked up on. 2 soldiers, probably coming to see why one of the cameras were down. They stopped though as they got closer to us. They definitely spotted us. Next thing I heard was a weapon being drawn. This was my only shot. I was blocking it from reaching Sonic, at least whatever type of weapon it was. I let go of Sonic's arm. He just clung on to me like before. We both heard a gun go off, but then, in a flash, we were in Sonic's room, back at Tom and Maddie's. Chaos Control worked. Just as we landed on the floor with a soft thud, I looked back at Sonic before falling unconscious.
Shadow!
Was the only thing I heard before I collapsed. Footsteps ran up the stairs, causing Sonic to turn around before getting into a fighting position, thinking it was a soldier, but instead, it turned out to only be Tom.
It was so great to see Tom again. He ran to me and scooped me up in his arms. We both cried a bit. I missed him so much. It was great to be back home. But then Tom set me down and went to Shadow. I watched as he inspected the other hedgehog, but then he turned back to me.
Go grab a towel and hurry.
Tom stayed by Shadow while I feared for the worst, as I quickly took off to grab a towel.